Hello everybody, today is July 26th. We're doing robot and nonsense stories to end your week.
Little bit of AI, a surprisingly small amount. Usually we see lots and lots of AI. I guess it's just not the week for it. But we do have something to look forward to, which is OpenAI has decided that the current, just having the language models is not enough. You need to have an umbrella over top of them that will become reasoning.
Exclusive, OpenAI working on reasoning technology under the codename Strawberry. This is really just normie speak for a multi-agent type of thing, where it looks at what you're doing to try to figure out what kind of problem it is, and then feeding it to the right mechanism that has been trained.
But also to predict future stuff, which so far doesn't do.
It's like, do I need to talk to the agent that is running code synthesis, or the agent that is more trained for dealing with math problems? Or
You gotta keep sandwalking, keep the AI. Never let it know it's your next move.
Well, the question is, we've seen some pretty dramatic increases as new models come out. The next version is always it's a jump because it takes so long to train them. But can we keep up this pace?
Microsoft CTO Kevin Scott thinks LLM scaling laws, quote unquote, will hold despite criticism. The scaling laws, of course, is the stuff that we make fun of, where the AI hallucinates, it doesn't remember things properly, and because of the input data set, it's never going to get certain things right. He thinks that these things will be overcome in time.
By throwing power and compute at it, basically. He's saying, hey, if you let us suck up all the power and the water, it will become better in that same ratio. And some people are saying, it doesn't matter. We're already throwing way too much at it. We're not getting out of it. He's like, no, we need more.
This time it'll be better, I promise.
And it'll be better based on how much we feed it. And it's what we feed it in terms of resources that we can't renew. But also we have to feed it data. And the world is running out. So where do you go?
Apple, Nvidia, Anthropic, and others used thousands of swiped YouTube videos to train AI.
This was delicious.
MKBHD did a video on this where he said, wait, I pay a transcription service a lot of money to transcribe my videos, and they stole it.
Well, you left out the key part there. I mean, you can infer it, but it's the subtitles that they're getting, not the videos themselves. So they've got audio match up with text. They can parse the text. They can see how people are speaking through the text. If they got that auto-generate stuff, it's just going to confuse them.
Yeah.
It's not good.
Welcome to what artists have complained about.
And welcome to what everybody's complaining about in terms of nothing in the cloud is immune to being scraped.
Gemini AI platform accused of scanning Google Drive files without user permission. So this individual was having a chat with Gemini AI, and it suggested that they look at his tax return for answers. And he's like, wait a minute, my tax return?
Excuse me?
And it's like, how do I disable Gemini's ability to scan my tax returns? And the first versions of this ran, he's like, wasn't obvious for how to turn this off. They eventually were able to walk through with Google how to turn that off, and it was off on his account. Dun, 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 dun.
Didn't he say ChatGPT walked him through that?
Yeah.
Which is hilarious because he went to another AI to...
This is the adversarial AIs of our future. Like, this is what it's going to be: your AI versus another AI. You as a human being are not going to be able to keep up with the level of adversarial interaction that you're going to face in daily life.
A lot of sci-fi predicted that with space combat.
Yeah.
I can see in myself the dependency and how fast it will grow.
Yeah.
And how devastating that's going to be if it's yanked away from
That's why you gotta go cold turkey.
From AI?
Yeah.
Well, no, see, that's the paradox, is with everyone else using it,
right,
you will be defenseless. There's nothing you can do.
It's the Red Queen.
You literally will not be able to buy groceries without an AI to defend your sanity.
That's why in nature, especially with birds, they'll always pretend to fight over food, even if they know they can't win. Because there's a chance that the other one will just give up. And it doesn't cost you anything to fake it. So, and here is just some nonsense. Everybody's trying to take AI and try to figure out a way to capitalize on it.
The Verge's headline is "The Making of Eno, the First Generative Feature Film." I would give you the alternative headline. This is Eno, the first generative feature film to use the fact that it's a generative feature film as its sole marketing strategy. The content, of course, being immaterial.
So they've shot a lot of footage with this guy, and I think there's some historical footage of him being interviewed. They took a ton of it, and somehow they built this little system that shows you different clips every time you watch the movie. Just figures out. They weight them, so like the really important parts you'll probably always see, but then you might see a clip that the person who watched it before you didn't see.
So it's like Disney when they released Star Wars for the 7th time.
Except we're not all seeing the same thing. But soon we will all be seeing the same thing. The skies will be blackened, and blood and fire, probably, after that.
Then we will fight in the shade.
The Reuters headline is "Ukraine rushes to create AI-enabled war drones." Yup.
Now, the terrifying thing about this is, remember what we were told about, we're just not going to let the robots fight on their own. But what we're discovering in Ukraine is signal jamming makes it impossible to use the drones, and both sides are using it. And so the solution seems to be, well, let's just give them AI.
You know what makes an incredible platform for this? Jetson Nano from Nvidia. All those CUDA cores and the relatively low power.
Does need to be disposable. But that's why you have taxes.
What if we develop a system where the drone is like part of a return system? It's smart enough to just go and like it separates, and there's a dumb drone and a smart one, and the dumb one is the one that goes to its death.
Yeah, that's probably something like that, right? Have a little carrier, a smart carrier that watches and makes sure, films the thing, and then gets back and reports because you can't feedback in real time because of the jamming.
Yeah.
Well, that's coming, and you know what? Sometimes, what if one of your little drones is flying and it has a hard landing and it gets one of its propellers stuck under a rock?
Oh.
What will it do? Well, if these guys have anything to do with it, it won't be a problem.
Soft robot can amputate and reattach its own legs. So it's like Bender from Futurama.
I was thinking the Thing, but
So it's made of these little cavities, and it uses compressed gases to flex and do its thing, walk around, and be terrifying. And if it needs
like a little
to,
rat monster.
it can heat those up and just join some of the chambers together at another point, and it's good to go. They claim it can do it like thousands of times before it starts to break down, and dirt and water doesn't matter.
Neat. Now all we have to do is give them some sort of biological power source and make sure they're not going to compete with us for food and
Make sure they can run on blood.
So how do we kill them?
Now this is, I get hyped about these kinds of robots.
Yeah.
Because this is something that, you know, like, hey, I would like to eat less poison. Somehow we can do that, maybe. Here we go.
Hoe-wielding robots, solar-powered robo-workers use AI to combat pesticide-resistant weeds. Because they don't use pesticides, it uses AI to just drive around, look for weeds, and manually deal with them. It's labor-intensive, but if the labor is a machine on wheels like this, not very labor-intensive.
And the solar panel,
Out in the hot sun, that's perfect.
just stick it out there and let it go. It is quite slow, but you could probably just have plenty of them, right?
Yeah, but in 5 years, those things are probably going to be faster than humans.
Yeah, and it's not going to be weeds that they're harvesting.
Weeding is also, like, it's just a slow task either way.
It's going to be kidneys. You're going to be walking around, and the AI is going to be, whoa, you have both of your kidneys. What's up with that?
We'll have to become nocturnal because of the solar-powered kidney harvesters.
It was us who blotted out the sun.
And the humanoid robots, now, of course, we all, in our science fiction, it's always humanoid robots, right? We haven't seen a ton of those, but we're starting to, and it seems that factory jobs are where they shine.
Watch Figure 01 humanoid robot trained for a job at a BMW factory.
So it's an interesting video. I don't know if they have any stills. You can see it's picking up a piece of quarter panel or something here. It's very slow. But it also pointed out how it's got tolerance for, like, in one clip, it puts the thing in place, but it kind of gets stuck, and it gives it the backhand to knock it into place. It also has creepily large hands and long fingers.
Easier to get caught in machinery.
And space tourism is apparently a thing. I can't imagine who can afford this. Well, actually, I can't imagine.
Yeah.
Startups are building balloons to hoist tourists 100,000 feet into the stratosphere.
They got to make it to the space bucky somehow.
That'll start you a basic ticket, $50K.
Keep in mind, airplanes usually only go to 30,000 feet max.
There is a bathroom.
Does it suck it out of you, or is it a normal bathroom?
I think there's still a little gravity at that height, right?
It would be really cold. Huh.
There's not oxygen, but I think there is still some gravity. And the aliens, boy, if there's ever been a time that we need them, it's now. They can come, they can help us with the AI. Maybe the robot revolution will have a new ally.
Amazing new technology set to transform the search for alien life. This is at a conference. You know, we're talking about things we're going to hoist into orbit to look for technology, basically.
So we've built this thing. Was this one in Africa? There's one in Africa and I think one in Australia maybe. But these are designed to look for things. We're specifically looking for how the aliens might be harvesting star energy. If we figure if we can find that, we can find aliens.
And we found 5 of those stars already that weirdly get dim that might indicate, you know, superstructures or something we don't understand. Either one, really.
And moonworms, right?
I was thinking someone mining for cobble.
No, it's going to be moonworms. They're there and they're waiting, and their favorite food, of course, astronaut.
Radar suggests there is a tunnel on the moon. I think we covered this hole before. We thought it was an underground lava tube, but it turns out that it may actually be big, or lava dome. It may actually be a cave. It has a substantial horizontal portion.
140 feet, right?
Yeah.
In diameter. So obviously we've learned that space radiation bad, shrinks your kidneys. That's a big problem that we didn't know about previously. We just learned about that from the ISS people. Maybe this could help.
Yeah, if you're underground, that's an excellent radiation shield.
That's what the last astronauts thought too, until they found the beast.
That's weird. There's alien corpses down here. These are at least 10,000 years old. What's up?
Until they found the moonworm, who loves kidneys.
So
And,
that's what they were doing with all those kidneys.
and it certainly seems like, again, with the political winds blowing in the direction that they are, that there is not long for this agency. We are going full privatized.
NASA cancels its moon rover mission, citing cost overruns and launch delays.
NASA and NOAA, my beloveds.
It's disappointing, yeah.
They are just so inefficient compared to SpaceX, though. And we have the SETI, what was it, Beatles music in the SETI stuff.
Yeah, a lot of classical on Voyager.
We've been broadcasting music to the stars to try to attract the aliens for some time. We've made a new selection. I disagree with it overwhelmingly.
NASA transmits a hip-hop song to deep space for the first
Are
time.
you're East Coast or West Coast?
I'm both.
Oh, okay.
But never, what was her nickname? Missy Elliott. She had a nickname, right?
That was her name, Missy Elliott.
Yeah, but I think she had a nickname.
I don't know what her real name is.
The Rain, I don't know.
I've not even heard that one.
I can guarantee it's garbage. I've not heard it either. But everything she made was
She
awesome.
has one that uses a Bjork sample. They could have used it.
I don't know.
Why haven't we transmitted Bjork?
Bjork?
Bjork is an alien. Affectionate, comma. Good, that's a good thing.
And Venus, we are probably not going to find any life on Venus that we can just hang out with. But there might be something alive there.
Signs of 2 gases in clouds on Venus could indicate life, scientists say. It's phosphine and ammonia.
What's creating phosphine and ammonia? We don't know, but apparently the scientists say that it should not exist based on what we understand about Venus. So it's probably perspiration or farts of some description.
It's Venus worms.
Wasn't there a study that said that a specific region of Venus's atmosphere would be easy for us to have an artificial environment in, assuming that there was a way to keep it at that stage in the atmosphere off of the surface, like it was the correct pressure, roughly the temperature that we need, and atmospheric filtering and managing the gases. Like if we could have a cloud city at just the right spot on Venus, would be okay.
Is it that constant?
I thought
Seems like
Venus was like really, really hot, a really, really dense atmosphere. Like,
well, I mean, it would make sense that at a certain elevation, the temperature but like, how's that? There's no way that's constant.
I think it was constant enough, but the problem is the whole cloud city, like we don't have any anti-grav technology, so there's no way to prevent it from sinking.
Listen, our ISS is leaking right now.
it's an old girl.
And we have here a shameless and frankly should be illegal marketing campaign.
Astronaut gives an honest TripAdvisor review of living in space, which is an experience none of us are currently able to enjoy.
Paid for by TripAdvisor.
Yeah.
Disgusting.
Expect more of that as we privatize more and more agencies.
And considering how broken everything is, do we want to live longer?
We have not one but two idiocracy stories this year. It's like SpaceX brought to you by Carl's Jr.
Yeah.
I don't know if
the weather. But before you could see this horrible tornado alert, watch these 10 ads.
And take your daily dose of whatever it is, because that's the only thing that's going to keep you alive.
Yeah, it's Brondo.
Supermodel granny drug extends life in animals. So it turns out these mice were genetically modified to not produce this, and we can't do that in humans because we really need it in early developmental stages of humans. But the scientists theorize that in later life, you shouldn't still produce this, and we do, and it contributes to aging.
So the one on the left, no changes. The one on the right got rid of whatever this thing is, and as you can see, totally different. Amazing. They're the same age. This has got to be weird for the one that has it. And the mushrooms, Krista, you love them, but are they
not that kind?
Are they good for your brain?
This is literally your brain on drugs, and the New York Times has some imaging, and it talks about how psychedelic drugs cause your brain to no longer fire synchronously, which will lead to the experiences people describe.
And apparently strips away your ego and yourself. I'm very curious what that might feel like, aren't you?
No, because I have no ego.
I can't turn it off and on again, so I don't know that I want to do this.
Yeah, I would never.
Well, that's the thing. They've learned that it mostly has the effect while you're under the effects of it, but then it lingers until it eventually wears all the way off and you have to re-up.
This kind of thing is also, like the Oracle at Delphi, supposedly like those kinds of experiences where, volcano gases leaking this kind of stuff or some kind of an experience like that.
There's some theories about that in the bicameral mind.
Yeah.
And the ACT, apparently it's too hard. Younger kids can't deal with it.
Changes coming to the ACT exam, including the science portion being made optional.
I don't understand that. I felt like I've gotten my head about the science portion because I was afraid it was going to be really math heavy, but it's just interpreting like graphs and like.
It's too hard. So now we're going to do different kinds of ACT, right? You can take the ACT plus math. You can take the ACT plus math plus science. You can take the base ACT with none of that. There's all kinds of different flavors. And so the idea, I guess, is if I'm going into whatever, basket weaving, I don't need biology.
This sounds like this is just a way for them to make more money because every school and every major is going to have a different requirement. And so you're going to have to pay another $50 to the ACT.
Dropping the price. Oh. Yeah. I think it's more like, how can we engineer servitude, right? Let's narrow scope of ability so that we can slot you in where you go in the machine.
I think we're already there.
Yeah.
But this certainly goes more in that direction, right?
I mean, audience engagement challenge. If you had, an average living wage, slightly above an average living wage, but you had to abdicate literally everything. You had to work, say, 30 hours a week, but that was going to be enough to provide food and health care and housing, and all of your bills would be paid, and you would have, a reasonable amount of spending money for vacations and everything else, I think a lot of people, for the certainty of that, would opt to do that. But maybe not. An engagement challenge.
Anybody? Well, I guess they don't exist yet. It'd be interesting to hear from you if you've taken that. Now, the other thing that I've noticed a lot of watching police videos is the phone is such an addiction, and like when the cop takes the phone away, that's when the real rage comes out. I watched one the other day. There was a woman. She was an older lady. She was passed out at a gas pump because she was drunk.
As you do.
And when they put her in the police car, she was kind of okay with it. And she was like, I need to look at TikTok. And they're like, no, you can't look at TikTok right now. And then she just lost it. But it's this, it controls the mind. And apparently, when your laptop is your only source of that, if someone destroys it.
A teen was shot and killed by a deputy in Polk County after going into a quote-unquote rage about a melted chocolate bar on his laptop. This is really just sad. A grandma put an Almond Joy bar on a laptop. She probably didn't know any better. He lost his mind. He took her car.
Well, it melted into the keyboard.
Yeah.
It destroyed it.
And he lost his mind. Some family came over. They called the police. The grandma broke her arm because he hit her with a car. Oh. And the deputy trying to deal with the situation just shot him because it was like, I don't know what's going on. He's in a car.
It was worse than that. The deputy, I think the deputy might have tried to get his car in between. So this guy hit the grandma and the deputy's car and then got out of his car and was trying to crawl into the driver's side window of the deputy cruiser when he took the bullet.
Yeah. This is not the first time this particular teen had a run-in with the law, so it was definitely a troubled. I hope the grandma doesn't feel bad.
Well, I mean, she probably does. You think she'll ever be able to enjoy Almond Joy in her life again?
I mean, there's probably
She's
a small
strictly
part of
Mounds
her,
Bar now.
There's probably a small part of her that feels guilty, but is also relieved, which is contributing to the guilt.
She had been living with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No grandma should have to.
She's probably walking on eggshells in her own house.
Yeah. And she was, it was obviously a peace offering, like from something else, like please.
Yeah, here's this. Didn't realize it would get hot, and then
turns out laptops make heat. Who knew?
Not her. And if you recall, if we look into our past, there were so many voices talking about how Bitcoin was just enabling human trafficking and money laundering and
all sorts
drugs,
of crime.
Evil. There was nothing good about it. It had no redeeming value at all.
Democratic senator who called Bitcoin an ideal choice for criminals has been found guilty of accepting bribes in cash, gold, and a luxury car. Huh.
Egypt.
Weird.
He was working for Egypt.
Weird.
And they were really taking care of him for a long time.
Isn't it that thing that I was saying about how some of the people that complain really loudly are super projecting?
Yeah.
You think he would have been on a certain app if he went to the... Oh, this was a Democrat.
Democrat is the other side.
I've also noticed that it's a lot of the time it's the inarticulate complaining. Like, I don't think this is good because blah, blah, blah is usually not as egregious as, the type of screeching that we saw here. Where,
I just don't like it.
Yeah, Bitcoin is bad. It's like, can you elaborate?
Bitcoin is bad. There's literally a gold bar in his back pocket.
It falls out of the pocket and just like...
Bitcoin is bad because I don't understand how to accept a bribe in it.
And Krista, I mean, you can certainly attest to how
this has happened in my area.
Annoying it is when your power goes out.
Yes.
It is awful. We're so dependent on it. And then that takes your internet too, another addiction. And I understand how people can get upset about it. But I cannot understand what they expect to happen as a result of this.
Quote unquote, we are better than this. Officials call for an end to violence and threats against the linemen working to restore power.
So here's some local drama in my area. So our power keeps going out all the time. And a lot of people got online and there's like a form for the state that you can fill out to be like, we're filing an official problem with this power provider. And a bunch of us did that. And then the power people were like calling people in the neighborhood to be like, hey, what's going on? Are you okay? What can we do for you? And apparently they said that they told one of the people they called, they're like, yeah, part of the reason we're having trouble keeping the power on is because some of you guys threaten us when we come out. And I was like...
Well, that's really interesting that you point that out because this is that Texas power grid that's like separate and monopolized and all that. They give you no ability to contact them.
Wow.
So all these people after the hurricane no power. They don't do outage maps. Remember the Whataburger?
Yeah.
Was it Whataburger?
That was what was being used as an outage map.
So they give zero information to their customers. And so when the power guys show up, I guess people are like trying to get answers. They're angry.
Yeah, yeah.
But
that
also,
was apparently what was happening in our neighborhood as well. People would ask them like, "Who are you? What are you doing here?" No one told us there was someone supposed to come out. Like,
but guns.
Yeah.
People pulled guns in Texas. One guy, they said, had an AK.
Yeah.
And like wasn't pointing it at him, but just like came outside of his house and stood there with a rifle.
That's some redneck energy.
It's like, what's going on? You can also tell that the driver in this article had dealt with this before, and he's like, I'm just going to let police deal with it.
Yeah, I kind of understand the line from being like, I'm not paid enough for this.
They also had a mugshot of one of the people they arrested who looked troubled.
They also had you know how like, because when something like that happens, they bring in trucks from all over the place. Like there's mercenary linemen that come in. And they have a staging area. And the staging area was in the bad part of town. And whoever was in charge of all the workers was just like, we're not staying here. So they have to actually drive the trucks way further.
Yeah.
Because they're terrified.
Well, that was funny in the Whataburger story. We saw there was like one side of town that just hadn't had any power restored. And I was like, that's probably the poor part of town.
We had that bad storm a few years ago, and there were trucks in our neighborhood, and they were, the guy came and he's like, I'm going to have to tear up your backyard. I'm so sorry. I was like, I would like to have power.
just bring it back.
I need heat. I need air.
Do you need me to kill somebody?
My yard had a fence, and I was like, look, you guys can park your trucks here if you want it. He's like, what, really? I was like, well, can I, while you're doing this, can I just like put a conduit underground and like bury my power? Because I've always wanted my power to be buried, and it's messed up. You're going to have to deal with it anyway. And he's like, I guess if you want to, that's fine. Just we need conduit that goes from the pole to your house, but you'd have to do it in like a day or two. And so I got like half of it dug, and then I had to go to work, and I came back, and they had finished it and buried it and put conduit in. And he's like, we appreciate you letting us park our trucks here. And I was like, okay, thanks. So that was fun.
Sometimes you attract more flies with honey than vinegar.
Well, if you had just kept digging, you may have been able to have a new business opportunity, except here in the bluegrass, it doesn't work because geographically, there's nothing. There's no 2 points that anybody wants to join.
There's 2 inches of topsoil. Suspected drug smuggling tunnel found in Tijuana is so long, authorities don't have enough oxygen to reach the other end. You're going to have to wear oxygen to make it all the way through.
You think the moonworm's in there too? Taking kidneys?
The moonworm, when it breeds, it just launches its eggs down to
into
Earth.
space.
Sends them in to be drug smugglers. So yeah, they found some people in the tunnel who had lots of cocaine.
And probably not enough oxygen to enjoy it.
Yeah, that's interesting. They didn't mention if they had any equipment or not.
If it's a long and flat enough tunnel, they could have just put a little remote-controlled cart in there. It's like, just go, and it's just... Zoop.
It's a minecart.
Yeah.
I mean, when it comes to what can we source first, oxygen tanks or remote-controlled cars with cameras? And criminals are, it's getting worse and worse as the economy collapses and people are desperate and opportunistic, and they've come up with really unique ways to rob you.
Law enforcement warns of hugging robbers in Southern California. Basically, people that seem like they need a hug, and they're asking for a hug, but when they hug you, they actually rob you.
They pickpocket you.
So this guy describes a car pulls up, pretty girl gets out, she spreads her arms, comes walking up to him, and he's like, oh, okay. And as soon as she gets her arms around him, she's in his pockets and grabbing his necklace. It's a very personal robbery.
It is, yeah. Dangerous for the girl, too, really.
Yeah.
It's a bold move.
Be careful who you hug. And be careful who you let into your alphabet agencies and government.
Ex-CIA analyst Sumi Terry charged with spying for South Korea in exchange for luxury handbags? Question mark?
Always wanted a Hermes.
So did she. And she got them. But she traded secrets for them.
Not great.
If she sold them, she'd probably make quite a bit of money.
And the crime wave is out there. It's amazing how many people try to downplay. It's like, oh, shoplifting's not really a problem. That's propaganda. But I don't know. I mean, it seems like the statistics are out there.
The headline is Sacramento warns Target to stop calling police or face public nuisance charge. This is the county attorney or whatever for the Sacramento area. But there's a state bill they're trying to get passed to explicitly make it okay for businesses to report shoplifting. Basically, the police the attorney was saying, don't report it unless it's more than $950 of theft, which seems insane, but okay.
And the criminals know that.
Yeah.
And it's not, they'll make another trip. They got nothing else to do.
Are the county attorney positions not elected in California? Like, did we elect somebody that has a secret agenda to corporatize private law enforcement?
Yeah, Gavin Newsom.
Don't we elect them here? That seems like that, because if you elected them, that guy would be crucified in the next election.
That's coming. When's the last time you bought a toy? I can't remember.
Well,
not for yourself.
oh, okay. Well, Christmas, because I buy toys for my nieces and nephews.
No, for yourself.
Oh, for myself. I don't know.
Apparently, we're in the minority.
Yeah.
Kidulting, how adults are becoming the top toy buyers.
I do see some people who are like this. Like, they want plushies and that kind of thing.
The thing it was all about Marvel stuff in this article.
Oh, it's probably been about a year since I bought a set of Legos.
I say, yeah, does Lego count? My husband has like the little,
toy.
he has like a little tiny town. He doesn't have a ton of them, but he has a couple.
Lego bricks for the particularly pedantic in chat.
Oh yeah, sorry. I probably said Legos too.
No,
right?
I said Legos. A set of Lego.
Now, I'm not a big anime consumer, but apparently this is a trend, and it's hilarious how I can't think that anybody was doing this on purpose, right? These are just telling a story, but it affects people because it's such a cultural phenomenon.
Truck industry blames Isekai anime and manga for giving them a bad reputation because people die when they're hit by trucks. But we do that in Hollywood as well. It's always, really funny. Like was it the Deadpool movie where they have a heartfelt moment with the music and then and then a truck comes
in this case, this particular genre, I've heard of this genre before. It's like you get transported to another world and it's better than our world. But I guess in this case, it's like they always get hit by a truck before that happens. So they're afraid people maybe are stepping in front of it thinking things will get better if I step in front of the truck. I think that's kind of the undercurrent that's not clear if you're not familiar with the genre.
How very existential.
What's the best truck scene in our cultural fiction? Is it Terminator 2?
I was thinking 30, or not 30 Rock, but Mean Girls, when the girl gets hit by a bus. That's pretty funny. But
I don't remember that one. I have seen that movie, I think. Did you guys listen to
I
this?
did listen to this. I went and looked up some of her other live performances. She did one for the Tiny Desk concert series, and it was okay, but she just does not have the range for this song.
This was maybe the most I laughed the entire week. Like during the whole performance, it just kept escalating.
It did.
It's so good you have to listen to it.
The Guardian headline is, I was drunk. Ingrid Andress.
Yeah, I don't know who she is before this week.
She's a country singer, right?
Response to criticism of the national anthem.
Look at those eyes.
She was on the other side of the Balmer curve.
I don't think she didn't look super drunk in the video I saw. I didn't think.
They might have clipped a bad frame, but
yeah.
I'll summarize the whole article for you. She said, "Yep, going into rehab."
But you got to listen to it because it was just astonishingly bad.
So like the Tiny Desk concert I watched, like her voice was okay, but she does like that whisper talking kind of singing. I don't know why she thought like I'm gonna go really hard on the national anthem, like because you just don't have the range for it.
She
like why?
Commits to it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, she might be. When she gets out, if you're her, do you try to do it again to redeem yourself?
I don't know. I saw Fergie did a really disastrous rendition of the national anthem many years ago, and she posted on her Instagram with a crown, like implying that she was passing the bad rendition of the national anthem crown to her.
I can't remember who it was. I think it was an older R&B singer who it was like up there in years, and he's got one where he's doing the national anthem, and he gets to the Rockets' Red Glare, and his voice breaks, and he stops in the middle of it, and he's like, uh-oh.
At least he acknowledged it, though. Like, that's better, I think.
And fake meat, or do we call this fake meat? Because it's not necessarily fake. It counts as meat. You actually probably wouldn't be able to eat this, would you?
Probably not.
Because it's like
Got the
actual
protein,
proteins.
yeah.
Yeah. But I don't feel good about giving this to my little guys.
UK, the first European country to approve lab-grown meat, starting with pet food. If you had on your 2024 bingo card that the Cronenberg universe would emerge from our pets, you scored a point.
So this is going to be chicken, or not
Chicken.
not chicken, whatever. I can't believe it's not chicken. And they're going to feed it to the pets.
But what does that tell you about the cost of this as it relates to the cost of making it versus the cost of regulation and production?
I don't think it's cheaper. I think it's for people who are themselves vegans or vegetarians who want their pets to be.
Also,
Plus-
even though that's not good for a lot of animals.
Plus, it plays into the whole like animals are bad for the environment narrative, right? Which is exactly why Bill Gates is also going to give us this.
Fats from thin air. Startup makes butter using CO2 and water. Bill Gates goes on specifically on record to say that the industrial processes used by this production company are found elsewhere in industrial food production. And so they're not really doing anything super unusual from processes that already exist. And so he believes commercially it will be viable.
Here's the thing. I feel like one of the big problems I have with my health is industrial food production.
Yeah. I'm sure it's commercially viable, but like, do I really want to eat that? I'm going to prefer real butter when I can get it.
Maybe it's an engagement challenge. It is a little bit of an engagement challenge. Isn't some of the history of China and Asian countries around social upheaval when their food supply and their food processing systems produced food that was so adulterated that it led to a lot of the situations that we have now where the culture is so concerned with fresh food and nothing that has ever been frozen and that sort of thing? Are we headed for that here?
I don't think we're headed there.
We've been
I
there.
think they're further down.
We grew up on Chef Boyardee, let's be real.
Is that why the incidence of cancer is becoming so much higher? Is that a thing that's happening?
They're probably further down the road, but I mean, we're there. You know, I mean, think about like that balanced breakfast they showed us in all those commercials when we were watching those cartoons when we were kids.
It's a huge breakfast.
That was all carbs.
It was all processed,
Yeah.
and it's not what they showed us then wasn't as bad as what it is now.
Dark.
How about what is your preferred bagel topping?
Don't you like everything bagels?
I love
You're the only
everything
one in the
bagels.
office who likes everything
Yeah,
bagels.
no one. And in fact, I have been asked to try to make sure that my everything bagels stay in a separate container.
Don't touch anything else because it stinks up everything
because
else.
like melon, it will ruin anything that it's around.
Well, not just that, but it'll spoil a drug test.
South Korean airport authorities crack down on Trader Joe's bagel seasoning. Why? Because it contains poppy seeds. I don't get why Asian countries are so sensitive about poppy seeds. Oh, wait.
That's a history joke.
If you don't get it, you should read James Clavell's Asian Saga. And Raising Cane's is really good.
It is.
You have to admit, the sauce, they keep it simple. The fries, I'm not crazy about
The
that.
fries are okay. The sauce is really the main star. I think their chicken tenders are also up there, but like the sauce is really good.
What speed would you be willing to drive your new truck to get Raising Cane's?
150. I don't know if it would even hit 150, but I would do it.
Well, this guy only went to 120.
Man cited for speeding through northeast Nebraska to get to Raising Cane's. In the man's defense, northeast Nebraska is unusually flat, and you do have an amazing distance for visibility.
He gets pulled over and he's like, I need a good excuse. Is my wife in the hospital? No, I need Raising Cane sauce.
And apparently he was going way out of his way to get it.
I mean, there's not much in Nebraska.
Would you call this man a caniac?
I would.
This week's episode brought to you by...
I wish, man, if we could get that sponsorship. And finally, what is happening? It's the scourge. You try to stay away from them, and then they infiltrate you with stealth. It's the PUFAs.
Italian authorities confiscate almost 1 million in fake olive oil.
Oh, this was a Uchent bait story. You think he'll come back?
Up to and including, they were adding artificial chlorophyll to this. And so Italy takes things very seriously. San Marzano tomatoes and olive oil. And honestly, I wish that the Food and Drug Administration here would take things as seriously with our food. It's like, oh, there's sunflower oil beyond this much in this thing. This is not fit for human consumption.
And that is exactly what it was. It was the nasty, disgusting seed oils. They were adding the chlorophyll to try to trick you into thinking it was olive oil. I don't know that I'm not eating this, right? How can we be sure?
Yeah.
This might get exported, or people might be doing it here.
No one.
You're going to have to start growing. You're going to have to make a greenhouse. You're going to have to put olive trees in it, and then you're going to have to get an olive oil presser.
How many olive trees would you need
A
to
lot.
get like a bottle?
And they don't grow in our zone because I did look it up. I was going to try to get olive trees, but we're too cold.
Time to do a greenhouse.
Oh.
I don't know what we're going to do. Probably just die, right?
The cancer.
We're all,
we won't have to worry
we're all
about that.
dying. Some of us just faster than others.
But probably not in the next week, so you can come back here next week.
Oh, what a good segue.
Hear
We'll see
more
you in the
about
next one.
Oh, that's fun. Catch you later.
Bye.